Now is the time set for the meeting with the Compensation Committee of Polk County. Today is February the 11th. The time, 2026, the time is 5 minutes after 10. Attending the meeting today are Mr. Wasson, Mr. Hartman, David Johnson, Nicole Panetta, the recording secretary, and the county administrative officer, Greg Hansen. First item on the agenda is selection of a chairperson. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Those in favor of Mr. Johnson serving as chairman, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the February 25, 2025 meeting. Are there any motions?
Move to accept.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Those in favor of approving the minutes for the February 25, 2025 meeting, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next, we have a presentation of the elected official salary memo for the years 2026, 2027. Mr. Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Compensation Committee. We are now doing the least favorite part of my job every year, is recommending to you what the elected officials' salary increases or non-increases should be for the upcoming year. These are only recommendations from me. Obviously, you have the freedom as a compensation board to do whatever you choose and to make that a recommendation later in the process to the budget committee of which you are part of, and then hopefully get that wrapped into the approved and adopted budget. So for the upcoming year, you have the recommendation in your packet. Effective on July 1, 2026, I'm making the following recommendations of a increase in the clerk's salary of 3%, an increase in the sheriff's salary of 5%, plus adding a longevity pay to his compensation. Longevity pay is based on years of service to Polk County. At the county level, it's 10 years, you get an additional 2%. At 15, you get 4. At 20, you get 6. And beyond that, you don't get any increase beyond the 6. Recommending for the assessor, 4%. Recommending for the commissioners, 3%. Recommending for the treasurer, no change in salary. And recommending for the district attorney, he is paid a monthly stipend. He is actually a employee of the state, and increasing his stipend by $100. The other recommendations include an ORS requirement for the sheriff's salary, which I will talk about later in this presentation. And then the final recommendation is language stating that elected officials' compensation shall include the services of the county's attorney for personal legal issues that arise out of from their role as a county elected official. Within the packet is a history of what has occurred in the past for elected official salary. I have about a 10-year running history. We don't need to go through that at all. Then there is discussion about where we are, at least fiscally, with the numbers that I receive. I've added a paragraph in here that I've never added before, but it is reality. With the numbers that I have received, we are looking at our current to their current surrounding counties. We use Benton, Lynn, Yamhill, Lincoln, and Tillamook as surrounding counties as comparables for elected officials' compensation. We do not include Marion County in our comparables. We range from being behind almost 0.8% to as high as 13.5% behind in some cases. It should be noted, and this is the new paragraph I've added, that the accuracy of these numbers from comparable counties are very difficult to get. I call HR, I look at their websites, and at times I get different answers just depending on the day I call. So the numbers I use in here, I cannot guarantee are completely accurate. I've had discussions with some of our elected officials about that. They're the best I can do. I shouldn't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out and looking at pay stubs and those kind of things for elected officials in other counties just to determine what they actually get paid or don't get paid. But we have a great group of elected officials. They are team players. They are easy to work with, at least for me. And I want to reiterate that as always. I'll give you some other information. The current CPIW for the Pacific Northwest or the West Coast is about 2.9%. It has ranged from as high as about 3.1 this year to as low as 2.7. So you're hovering in that near 3% range at this moment in time. I give you the fiscal impact of what my recommendation on that page shows as a monthly cost to the county that is not just necessarily, that is in hard numbers for the monthly, but the total fiscal accounts for PERS and other benefits that get us tied to percentage of salaries. So total cost of this recommendation is about $32,000. You can see, the spreadsheet in here isn't complete. It doesn't show the averages and that, but it's close enough. You can see commissioner-wise, assessor-wise, clerk, we're all behind a little. You're finding in other counties big increases in personnel costs throughout. Benton County is very, very high compared to us. They have increased their management and elected salaries by 20% for 2 years in a row. Just alone, if I were working in Benton County, my salary would be $368,000 a year. It is not that here. But just to give you an idea, they have the highest pay in our surrounding counties. In some cases, they're higher than even Marion County, who we don't compare to based on size. You know, it is difficult to determine these elected official salaries. I would like to pay them more. I'd like to pay a lot of our people more. Right now we have and you'll find out in a month or two how difficult it's going to be for the general fund for this upcoming fiscal year. And then the following year, obviously, will be determined a lot by what the public safety levy does, whether it's successful or not, and those things. But like I said, this is not a fun part of my job, is trying to recommend what are elected official salaries. There are many times in other counties, elected officials are not working FTE, they're more political figures. That is not the case in our county. Our clerk's office has 3 people. She's one of the 3. She is obviously working more than probably any other clerk in these 5 surrounding counties. Assessor, same way. She is a working elected official. Sheriff, all those are, working compared to a lot of the other counties, which are sometimes political figureheads. So I want to point that out. The sheriff is unique in that he has statutory authority to be the highest compensated employee in his office. He is, or that position is the only one that has that kind of protection in the state. Finding out what a sheriff gets paid is probably the most difficult thing of all the elected officials there is. He brings me information that I don't even get. I even ask after the fact, and sometimes I don't get the same answer that he gets. We have probably been underpaying that position for a while. I added longevity pay this time for July, but you should consider even putting that back all the way till this current fiscal year. I don't think I can go back further than that. I'm just saying that that would be something that you may want to consider. It is not in my recommendation, but it's something that you can consider. We usually don't have elected officials here, but we usually don't have a crowd here. Some of it's left over from earlier this morning, but I think most of them are here to comment or not comment if you have questions on my recommendation or want to hear from them. And I don't know if any of them want to come up and talk to you guys to state their position in that. But I won't take it personal. So.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Hanson. Any discussion on Mr. Hanson's memo or presentation? Thank you, Mr. Hanson. We do have members of the public here in attendance today. It is not on the agenda, but we will open up the microphone for any public comment should anybody care to make a comment at this time. Come forward, please state your name for the record.
Just leave my stuff.
Steve Milligan, Polk County Treasurer. I'm gonna give you these packets. They're not necessarily to read this morning, but it's information I think is pertinent to what I'm gonna talk about. In the ORS 204-112, it talks about your duties and responsibilities to those of us that are elected officials. Other than this compensation memo that Greg Hanson has handed out this morning, what is your process for reviewing the compensation for the elected officials?
Thank you, Mr. Wiggins.
No, it's Milligan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Milligan. Thank you, Mr. Milligan. So you're asking what our process is?
Right.
Yeah. So we task county staff with doing a survey of surrounding counties. We review the CPI for the region, and then we look at the fiscal impact on the county. Those are the steps that we take. Additional questions or comments?
Okay, so regarding the treasurer's compensation, are you aware that this page has not changed in years? That these numbers are based on, especially on the treasurer, that's the one I looked at. But 5 years ago, this was the same page for my compensation.
So are you saying, I want to make sure that your comment is clear. Are you saying that treasurer's compensation in other counties has not changed, or that your?
No, what I'm saying is this spreadsheet has not changed. The data in the spreadsheet was not changed. It hasn't been updated at all. I mean, even if you look at Yamhill County, they've been paying them $3,000 a month for, oh man, at least the last 10 years. So that's not even accurate. But I don't really want to get into that. What I want to get into is, are you aware that there's a court order to get me back to being the actual treasurer for the county rather than a figurehead for the county.
We are aware that there is a court order in place. The interpretation thereof is what it is.
Can you explain that? I mean, that's very vague.
I can't give any more detail than that.
So last year, a friend of mine came to this compensation board meeting and asked you to explain why when the court order is here about getting a treasurer back to the full status of a treasurer as a constitutional officer of the county, equivalent to the sheriff, the assessor, and the clerk. And the court order says that everybody in the county has to participate in the
Mr. Milligan,
implementation.
are you implying that Polk County is out of compliance with the court order?
Yes.
There are other remedies. Take them up.
Well, what I'm asking is are you willing to be in contempt of court yourself?
I'm an officer of the court. I will comply with every court order that is applicable to me. And if you
And you're
believe
aware
that,
that this court order is applicable to you?
if you believe I'm not in compliance, there's a remedy and this isn't it.
So you're willing to just continue to follow what Greg wants regardless of a court order that's telling the county to do something different?
I'm an officer of the court and will obey every court order that is.
What court are you an officer of?
I'm an officer of the courts of Oregon.
Okay. So then you would have understood this better than anyone else. Correct?
That,
So let me, did the court order specifically address salary?
It did not, but
No,
it talked about responsibilities.
doesn't,
And with those responsibilities would come salary.
doesn't address salary. If you read what you just handed out, it doesn't address salary. It addresses your responsibility. And your salary is based upon how you have been performing your responsibilities. And you haven't done some of the things that the commissioners asked you to do. And so that's why Mr. Hanson is probably making the recommendation. He is.
So what is it that I haven't done that the commissioners have asked me to do?
Mr. Milligan, this isn't the forum.
For that.
Well, you're the one who brought that up, not me.
Mr. Milligan, do you have a comment about compensation?
Yes.
Make
Can
your
you
comment.
correct it?
Thank you, Mr.
And will you take a deeper review of it?
Thank you, Mr. Milligan. Any other public comment?
Question.
Come forward, please state your name for the record.
Daniel Jaffer, Polk County resident.
Thank you, Mr. Jaffer.
The question I have, and I understand, and I'm listening to Mr. Milligan there, and I followed some of this, but what I don't understand is coming to the compensation board and making a recommendation to raise every other elected official's salary in the county and not the treasurer, regardless of who the treasurer is.
Sure. But-
You know, how can that stay frozen from, I think about 2016 or so till now?
I'll be very, very candid. We compensate based on performance. Mr. Milligan has performed minimal duties.
There's an obstruction that's going on. I've tried to perform them and been obstructed.
So what you're saying is if there were a different treasurer,
No, what I'm saying is if we have somebody performing, we pay for work done. We have more than adequately compensated Mr. Milligan for work done. If additional work is done where there is value derived for the county, we're happy to pay for it.
well,
Has nothing to do with the person. It has to do with the job performed.
I would just like to say that, you know, I look at some of the other folks that are being increased in salary, and I've got nothing against people's salaries being raised, but I don't see anything dramatically different in what certain elected officials were doing 3 or 4 years ago as compared to what they're doing now, which you would say that, oh, they're performing admirably or whatever, so we should pay them more. You know, if they're just doing the same job they've done, and there's no value added over that, then why compensate them?
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Mr. Gordon?
Thank you for dismissing me like that.
So thank you for your volunteer work on the compensation committee. This is my first time addressing the committee, and I do not do so lightly. And just so you know, I'm speaking for myself as a single commissioner. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. But my comment is partly based on the meeting beforehand with the deficit seen in the fair fund, and then also some structural deficits that we, as a budget committee, as a community, and as a Board of Commissioners are going to have to address. And I just personally, it's a personal reflection, have a hard time facing potential cuts to correct that structural deficit while receiving a 3% or 2% or 1% increase in my salary as a county commissioner. And under the logic of the CPI cost of living, I understand that, but I've worked in the public sector in the past and I have seen years of zero increase based on budget realities. This is part of a wider conversation, but that's something I would advocate for, certainly for the commissioners. I may not make friends on my board, but just something to consider. And then also, if you do decide to move on with a CPI increase for the positions, I do ask that the treasurer position is not left out of that, just to keep consistency with the CPI logic. I know you have other considerations as well, but I do think some consistency there might be helpful. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Any further comments? Any discussion on recommendations? Any motions regarding the recommendations?
Move to approve the suggestions of our Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Wasson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Those in favor of approving the recommendations as presented by Mr. Hanson, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Recommendations are approved. This meeting is adjourned.